Have you ever finally sat down to rest and instead of feeling relaxed, you just feel uncomfortable? Like you should be doing something, or that you're being lazy or even falling behind? Most people think that's a discipline problem, a lack of motivation, or just poor time management. But from a psychological perspective, that feeling is rest guilt. It's actually coming from something much deeper. In this video, we'll explore what often drives that feeling and what you can start to do about it. I've also created a simple 3-step reset to help your system begin to feel comfortable with slowing down, and it's pinned in the comments below. So let's do a deep dive. A lot of the women I work with already know they need to rest. They're aware they're tired. They know they're doing too much. They know it's not sustainable. But when the moment comes to actually stop, they still feel that pull to get up, to check something, to keep going. And that's the clue. This isn't just a mindset problem. It's something your nervous system has learned over time. And 3 of the biggest contributing factors are our identity, the anticipatory mind, and a fear of falling behind. For many women, being productive doesn't just stay as something you do. It becomes part of how you see yourself and how others see you too. You become the person who gets things done, the one who keeps everything running, the one other people rely on. And over time, that gets reinforced. You're seen as capable, organized, dependable, and those are all really positive qualities. But without realizing it, they can also become something you feel like you have to maintain. An unspoken pressure, either from yourself or what you believe others expect from you. So doing stops being just something you do and starts becoming a quality that defines you. And when that happens, rest can start to feel uncomfortable. Even when you want to relax, even when you need it, it can feel unfamiliar or even a little wrong. You might notice thoughts like, oh, I'm being lazy, or I should be doing something more productive and useful. Sometimes there's even that worry about how it might look to others. And from a nervous system perspective, this actually makes sense, because when something feels unfamiliar, your system can interpret that feeling as unsafe. So it tries to pull you back into what feels known, back into doing or planning or thinking, in an attempt to create a sense of certainty and control again. And our brains naturally feel safest when things are predictable. And for many people, that familiar place is staying in motion, staying in that role of doing. I know this one personally. There was a time when I would finish everything I needed for the day. And instead of sitting down and switching off, I would find myself wandering around the house, tidying things that didn't really need tidying, checking things that could wait, starting small jobs that weren't that important, finding those drawers that probably should be cleaned out, but they really didn't have to be. And I remember thinking, why can't I just sit down? Even when I was completely exhausted, my feet hurt, my back hurt, I was ready to stop. But I'd sit for a minute or two and then feel that pull to get back up again. Like there was something I'd forgotten or something that I should be doing. Or that if I just did one more thing, I'd stay on top of everything. But the truth was I never got ahead. There was always something else to do. And looking back, I can see that I had become used to doing, that I'd actually forgotten how to just be. The second piece of the way the mind works is our anticipating mind. Our minds are very good at scanning for what still needs attention. So when you stop, your body might slow down, but your mind often doesn't. It jumps ahead to what it hasn't been done, to what might be coming, to what you could be forgetting, And that's why rest can feel mentally busy instead of calming. It's not that you're bad at relaxing. It's that your mind is doing exactly what it's been trained to do, to anticipate, to problem solve, to stay one step ahead. And in a way, it's trying to help you. It's trying to maintain a sense of safety by reducing uncertainty and keeping things as predictable as possible. And the third piece is a quieter one, but it's really powerful, and that's fear. Not always obvious, but often sitting just underneath it all. The fear that if you slow down, you might fall behind, or you might not be doing enough, that you might lose momentum, that things might start to slip, or you could miss something important. And for some, there's also that concern about how it might look to others, that you might be seen as lazy or not keeping up. So rest doesn't feel like a pause, it can actually start to feel like a risk. So when you bring all of this together, the way your identity becomes tied to productivity, the way your mind keeps scanning ahead, trying to stay on top of everything, and that underlying fear of falling behind or not being enough, it starts to make sense why switching off can feel so difficult. Because this isn't just about rest. It's about what your system has learned it needs to do to feel safe, in control, and on track. And a lot of this happens automatically. It's not something you're consciously choosing. It's patterns that are built up over time, ways of thinking and responding that have become familiar, almost second nature. And when something feels familiar, your system tends to stick with it, even if it's exhausting. So it makes sense that this is why rest can feel so uncomfortable. You might have heard advice like, just relax, slow down, stop thinking so much. And while these comments are usually well-meaning, they don't always help, because if it were that simple, you probably would have figured it out by now. You're capable, you're intelligent, and sometimes hearing that kind of advice can actually make you feel worse, like there's something wrong with you or that you're somehow failing at something that should be easy. But the truth is, your system isn't resisting for no reason. It's trying to protect something that feels important. And for many people, these patterns have been there for a long time. They've helped you stay on top of things, stay organized, and keep everything moving. They're not bad and they're not wrong. They just might not be working for you anymore. And that's where change becomes possible, because these patterns, these habits, the way your mind and body respond, they can be reshaped over time. Not all at once, but gradually and in a way that feels safe. This is where it can be helpful to think of yourself almost like a bit of a behavioral scientist. Because what you're really doing here is gently retraining your nervous system. And if something has been learned, it can also be unlearned and reshaped into something new. And the good news is, you already know how to do this. You've actually been doing it your whole life. If you think about when you were a child, you didn't know how to do most things at first. You learned through experience, through trial and error. You learned how to walk, run, play, talk. You learned that some things needed to be avoided, like touching something hot, and that other things felt a bit scary at first, like going down a slide, but were actually safe and even enjoyable once you tried them. And this is really the same process. You're allowing your system to experience something that might feel unfamiliar at first, like slowing down, and over time it starts to learn that nothing bad happens when you pause, that things don't fall apart, and that you don't have to lose your place just because you rest. And this is where self-care becomes really important, not as something indulgent, but as something that helps your system reset, recharge, and build resilience over time. So here are a couple of simple things you can start to try. The first thing to know is this doesn't have to be big or time-consuming. In fact, smaller is often better. I like to think of these as micro moments, little pockets of time throughout your day where you intentionally pause. So it might be a minute or two, but those small moments can actually be really powerful. For example, when I'm hanging the clothes out on the line, I often pause for a few minutes and walk around the garden. I'll notice how the plants have grown, what flowers are out. I'll even look up at the clouds and take a moment or two to imagine what sort of fluffy animals they might look like. But in that time, everything feels like it slows down. I get a chance to catch my breath, reset my attention, and feel a bit more connected to myself and everything around me. And when you think about it, that's a lot of positive change from just a few simple moments. Another small shift that can really help is letting yourself finish a moment of rest. Instead of rushing straight to the next thing, even just for a few extra seconds, sitting down and noticing how that feels in your body. You might focus on your breathing or bringing your attention to something simple. A quiet moment, a cup of warm coffee, the smell of cut grass. something you feel grateful for in the moment. And something else that can make a big difference is allowing things to be good enough for today. Letting go of the idea that everything has to be finished or perfect before you're allowed to rest. This was a big one for me. I used to feel like I had to get everything done so I could start the next day with a clean slate. But I learned pretty quickly, especially once I had kids, that life doesn't work like that. There's always something else to do, something else to wash, something else to clean, something else to pick up. These small moments might not seem like much, but they begin to change the pattern. They gently teach your nervous system that the world doesn't fall apart when you pause. And it's actually safe to listen to your body and take a moment to recharge. You have the power. So if slowing down and resting is something you struggle with, I want you to know this can change. With nothing more than your attention and some intention, you can begin to retrain your nervous system and gently shift the way you move through your life in a way that feels more calm, more intentional, and more energizing. And I really do believe in you. If this resonated with you, I've created a simple 3-step reset to help your nervous system begin to slow down. It's pinned in the comments below. And if you'd like to explore this more deeply, I've also written a book called Stop Rushing, Start Living, where I go into this in a lot more detail. You can find that on my website, and the link is in my bio.